Indoctrination, how Charlie Kirk toured colleges, grooming young white people into accepting white nationalism as normal. Charlie Kirk never called himself a professor, but he strutted through America's colleges as if he were the dean of grievance studies. His curriculum, a crash course in white victimhood, manufactured persecution, and the rebranding of white nationalism as a mainstream political identity. While conservatives derided higher education as a liberal indoctrination factory, Kirk and his Turning Point USA outfit built a parallel classroom, one where young white students were not only excused from the responsibilities of history, but were rewarded for resenting those who challenged it. The lectures weren't about economics, policy, or civic duty. They were about grooming a generation to believe that their whiteness was under siege and that rage was a patriotic response. Kirk's campus tours were marketed as speaking engagements, but in reality, they functioned more like ideological pep rallies. Students were fed a steady diet of culture war flashpoints, diversity programs framed as anti-white discrimination, discussions of systemic racism dismissed as Marxist brainwashing, and professors caricatured as enemies of free thought. By cloaking white grievance in the language of free speech, Kirk normalized what had long been whispered in extremist corners, that white students were the true marginalized group in America. The effect was subtle but powerful. What once would have been called overt racism was reframed as common sense conservatism. Hostility toward immigrants became defending the border. Dismissing Black Lives Matter became supporting law and order. Questioning women's autonomy was protecting traditional values. It was a curriculum of coded language, the very art of laundering bigotry into polite society. And for many young white students, it worked. Kirk didn't have to shout white power to plant the seed. He simply had to convince his audience that the world was conspiring against them, and that aligning with him was the only rational response. By the time they left his events, white nationalism was no longer an ugly relic of America's past. It was just another opinion in the spectrum of campus debate. Charlie Kirk didn't need a chalkboard or a syllabus. It needed a microphone, a social media amplifier, and an audience eager to be told that their fear, resentment, and hostility weren't just natural. They were noble. That's how Charlie Kirk turned lecture halls into laboratories of normalization, teaching young white people to see hate as heritage and prejudice as patriotism. This has been a No Sleeple Network production. If you like what we're doing here, please like, share, and subscribe.